Hello, team owners of the USFL and fans alike. These are highlights, Week 12, previews, Week 13. We have no divisional winners in our 20-team Premier League. Lots of parity going on here. No divisional winners. It's going to take Week 13 to settle out, and even me, the commish, I cannot give you any hints what's going to happen. I'll do my best in the previews coming up after the highlights. Game of the week, of course, this past week was the Memphis Showboats. They go into town, into Memphis to play their divisional foe. And finally, James Hayes comes out with a win, is on top in the South. The Bulls go down in a tough loss, 31-24. You know, Blake Bortles has run the Showboats all season with a great supporting cast. He needs a great supporting cast. He doesn't have that on the Jacksonville NFL team, Jaguars. But the Memphis Showboats set Blake Bortles this past week, put in a fresh Ryan Tannehill, and it was good enough to beat the Bulls 31-24. In the dog of the week, we have to put the gold in the dog of the week. I had a tough time picking the dog of the week this week. My dog's outside, so he can't make this video with us. He's good at it. He had perfect timing on my last video. But the dog of the week is the gold, was the gold and the Oakland Invaders. I had to pick that one out. Oakland had a lot on the line. Ken Dunick and Mike Lanzalotti win for the Invaders 25-17 on the backs of three rookies that Mike has put together there for the Invaders. Josh Adams, Antonio Callaway, and DJ Moore. That's a great trio right there. They scored 14 points, I believe, to win 25-17 over the Denver Gold in the dog of the week. Upset of the week is the Orlando Renegades. Randy Minor put together a win over the Express that was leading out in the Pacific Division. Randy Minor is definitely in the spoiler war with his Orlando Renegade. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But they beat the Express at home 28-23. The Arizona Wranglers have been a thorn in the side of Jason Wise's Breakers out in the Pacific every season since season 2, it seems like. I'm not sure if it's ever been any different. I think Kevin Perillou's won that division every year. No difference this year. He gets a big game out of Big Ben. And Jason with the Breakers, the difference in that game was Andy Dalton went down. He's on IR. Looks like he's going to have to play Mullen as we have a quarterback shortage like you wouldn't believe. And by the way, vote in the poll, you 5 guys that haven't. I think it's the same 5 of you that failed to vote. Please go in there and vote, or your commissioner is just going to pick the quarterback setting for next year. But in that game, the Arizona Wranglers do win. They do stay one atop in the Pacific Division, 24-18 over Portland. The Panthers look like they had it all under control in the Central Division until this week when they faced the G-Men, the Gunslingers. Jake's Gunslingers pull out a big win. Top to bottom, everybody performed for Jake, and he pulled this one out in a close game. Mark Nemi had 4 Kansas City players on bye, so his bye week cost him 30-28. Gunslingers over the Michigan Panthers. The New York City Hitmen won this past week, but they lost Melvin Gordon. Going into Week 13, that's going to be tough. New York City Hitmen are in first place, tied, but in first place with the tiebreaker over the Washington Feds. But New York City is going to have to put something together. They got Frank Gore on their bench. That's probably who Terry is going to use in this. McCafferty scored 9.5 points all by himself. He's going to have to make up for the loss of Gordon, and that's going to be hard to do. He made up for it this week with 9.5, kind of, sort of. But good luck to Terry going forward as he tries to pull out a divisional win in the Atlantic, 1 player short, Melvin Gordon. Despite a sloppy performance, the Stars did pull off a win on Juju's big play of the night on, I think it was Sunday Night Football. Philadelphia Stars 27-21 over the fledgling Gamblers. Scott Boucher, Paul Thompson will be back next year. They have dropped out. They will play in the second tier of the playoffs, but at one time tied for atop the Central Division. They do go down this week in that game to the Philadelphia Stars, who are one game back in the Atlantic. The next game we want to talk about is the Outlaws and the Blitz. The Outlaws do come forth 33-21, go into Chicago and beat the Blitz. The Blitz cannot win the Central Division now at this point. I do not believe, even though they're one game back, as every game does matter. We will discuss that in previews. Wish I could tell you more about what's going to prevail at the end here, but you know, you're going to have to watch these games this next week. Every game does matter. The Feds are in a close one with the Generals. This game seemed to be tied every time I went to the board and looked at it. Feds win in that game 20.8 to 20.3. We'll just call it 21-20. Tina's Feds over Jose Plaza's Generals, who are now 2-10 and also in the Spoiler Award category. And the Tampa Bay Bandits win their third in a row after starting out with just a one-win team. Brian Tracy's put together 3 wins in a row as the Bandits roll in their win and move out of the spoiler category. However, there may be a special award for Brian Tracy. Remember, I am watching all of you spoiler teams. That is the Renegades, the Generals, and the Stallions. All 3 of you I'm watching very closely this week. It looks like officially by the ruling, the Orlando Renegades are going to win that, but we're going to be watching, and I'm going to pick who. It's going to be a hard decision, but Commish, that's what I'm here to do. So look at the standings. 10-2, Jacksonville and Memphis, with Memphis on top with tiebreaker right now. Even though the standings do not show that, that is I do believe in divisional games mattering during the season. It makes things interesting. But I will go with points toward the end of the season once week 13 is over. But right now, Memphis and Jacksonville tied atop at 10-2. Oklahoma and Michigan tied at top in the Central. Arizona alone, 1 game ahead of 3 6-6 teams in the Pacific. And as mentioned, the New York City Hitmen and Washington Federals are tied at 8-4 with John Pahula's Philadelphia Stars right there behind. So next week, what have we got here? We've got the game of the week, and I'm calling the game of the week the Federals and the Outlaws. Well, neither one of these teams control their own destiny really, but the team that wins may win their division. That is my game of the week. 2 good teams, been in the top 8 board all season long. Tina's Feds and Kyle Smith's Outlaws go at it this next week. And that game will be played at the Federal Stadium in D.C., and that's going to be one to watch. Game of the week. Look, we have 4 dogs. I couldn't pick a dog this week. Of course, we're going to start out with the Kingpin dog, which is the Gold. And I'm sorry, Michael. Michael's had a tough season. He doesn't need me picking on him. But look, Michael, this is your chance to win your final game of the season against the Wranglers in your division, your divisional foe. I know you're not favored in this game, but line them up. Anything can happen in fantasy football. First dog, Gold at the Wranglers. Gamblers and the Gunslingers is another potential dog. They're both at the bottom in the Central Division. You'd say, well, this game could be a dog, but lots riding for the Gunslingers. They want to finish strong, winning their last 4 games. All 4 sweep the Central, their last 4 games. Jake's team looking good, top to bottom. And then the Gamblers want to go out with a bang and win in that game. Paul Thompson and Scott Boucher have had a tough go of it the last 4 or 5 games. That is another potential dog of the week. Tampa and Orlando, of course, is a spoiler game. You know, nobody would care in a lot of other leagues, but in this league, it does matter very much. Tampa and Orlando. Stars and Maulers, another potential dog. Well, the Stars got a lot on the line. The Maulers don't have much to play for except to upset the Stars, their divisional foe this week. Upsets of the week, I had to pick 2 of them, the Hitmen and the Generals. Hitmen are hampered with losing Gordon. The Generals are the best 2-10 team in the league, I believe. If the Generals win that game, it's going to be hard-pressed for me to not give them the spoiler award. but I think they will move out of the spoiler court award category with a win. So Jose Plaza plays Terry Harness's Hitmen in a potential upset of the week. And then the Memphis Showboats and Birmingham Stallions. Stallions are another potential spoiler team. Need this win to get in the lower tier playoff with our format. And Memphis needs to win the Southern Division. I believe for the first time in James Hayes' history. He has been in this league since the inception of the league. He's one of 3 that have been in it since the first year. Portland and LA play out at West in a close game. Winner might need some help. Loser will definitely not win the division. Winner stands a chance. I can't tell you what would happen. I wish I could. Oakland Invaders and the Bulls. Bulls must win to have any shot at winning the division. And the Oakland Invaders, if they win and a few good things happen, Wranglers lose, who knows? Mike Lancelotti may win in the Pacific, win that division. And then Michigan, everything on the line, started out strong, fading just a tiny bit here at the end. I'm sure he's going to bounce back with all those Kansas City players. Michigan goes into Chicago and in a must-win situation. Chicago in a revenge game there as they would have some mathematical chance, I suppose, to win the division. You know, it's just a mess, guys, out there. Look, so glad you're all here. Thank you so much. Remember, playoffs are coming up after this week. The Bassett Bowl is going to be great. We only have 1 week when we play. We do not play 2 weeks per playoff game. You have to line them up and be ready to play. You can't make up the next week in our league. We do not play the 17th week like a lot of leagues do. Too many players are left out. We have the first and second tier format. So, you know, you can finish 14th in our league and win in the bottom tier and get your shot at the top 8 board, one of those top 8 board teams that lose in the first 2 rounds. Exciting stuff. Follow us on the fan page. We'll keep you updated all during the playoffs. Have a great week. Line them up, guys.